So, good morning and welcome to the Mindfulness Tree meditation community. And as we've done before, I'm going to be recording this. And at the end of the meditation, I will stop the recording as we continue with discussion. So, we're going to begin with an adaptation of the meditation on perspective, a self distancing practice. And so, using that in the book so that if you ever want to go back and take a look at that, you've got some of the background on that. So, I'm going to invite the bell. Listen, listen. The sound of the bell calls me back to my true self. So, we arrive, we settle, we allow the earth to hold us and to support us in whatever we're experiencing today. And so, from the seated position, we bring our attention to our posture, aligning the spine from bottom to top, bringing a sense of dignity, but relaxation and awareness to this practice. Just noticing the sensation of the chair against the body, perhaps the clothing as it touches different parts of the body, perhaps the ambient temperature of the air wherever you're sitting. And I invite you, as we go through this practice, to make an intention, if you would like, the motivation for why you meditate. Perhaps it's for yourself, a loved one, a group of people. But just take a moment to formulate that intention, dedicating this time. And I encourage you that as the day goes on, to reflect back on this intention. And if it's for someone other than yourself, perhaps to reach out to them. And into this space, this secluded, this secluded place where you're meditating, to take a moment to invite mindfulness, sati, the dear friend who walks with you and supports you, encourages you with this sense of openness and softness. vastness, helping to set the idea of perspective. Mindfulness offers us the opportunity for an open and wide perspective, almost as if we have gone to a high mountain, and as we look down, we can see the broad perspective. We can see all sides, something that we aren't able to see when we're up close. And by distancing ourselves like this, we might be able to access equanimity, this spacious, non discriminating, non attachment. The perspective helps us to be able to understand, perhaps better, not necessarily agree with, but to understand with a sense of balance and non attachment. Something that is so important as we live through turbulent times and disturbing times. To step back, not being indifferent, but to have the ability to see far. As we move into this meditation, this practice is called by some self-distancing. It allows us to think more clearly about our problems or our issues, as well as to reduce our stress response and negative emotions that arise. This broader perspective allows us to get beyond our own limited and immediate self-interest and into a perspective that takes into account the interests of others. As Archbishop Tutu has said, it allows us to see what serves all of God's children when we are taking this God's eye perspective. This ability to go beyond our own self-interest, whether it is for ourselves, a community, a nation, or the world. Notice the body is breathing, and perhaps using a gatha that we get from Master Thich Nhat Hanh. Breathing in, I calm my body. Breathing out, I calm my mind. Settling into the breath and a grounding in the earth, but yet with a perspective of the wide sky. And now I invite you to bring to mind a problem or a situation that you or a loved one is facing. And just take a moment to just formulate that in your mind, but remembering to breathe and to allow the body to settle and notice what arises. Think about the issues involved. Allow yourself to think about the difficulty and notice how your body feels. And if at any time this meditation becomes difficult, I invite you to simply settle into the breath as a form of self care. And now, from a visualization, I invite you to imagine that you are at the top of this mountain that offers this broad perspective. And at the top of this mountain is a clearing that offers the vista, but also includes grass and some flowers. And I invite you to bring this issue that you're dealing with you, but also remembering that mindfulness, sati, is with you. And perhaps sit down and just imagine in this clearing that there is a circle that has been drawn that's about 10 feet in diameter. And notice what it feels like to have this issue in close proximity to you. And remembering if this becomes difficult, to just simply go back to the breath. And now, imagine that the circle has become larger. Instead of 10 feet, it's become about 5 yards. And so you have the ability to move, and the issue might be able to have its own space. And just notice what that feels like to put some distance, that self distancing between yourself and the issue. And now imagine that the circle has become 15 yards and it's expanding so that there is room to have a separate space while sati is with you and the issue is still there. And now Allow that circle to go to the boundary of this clearing on top of the mountain so that you have the entire space, and noticing that you can look out from this space and perhaps stand up and walk around. And the issue might still be there, but your perspective is changing. You're looking out beyond that immediate space, and it's open. The view is majestic and broad. And just allow yourself to dwell in this space. And from this perspective, face the issue and describe it as if it were happening to someone else, perhaps using your name rather than the words I, me, or mine. Bring a sense of loving kindness to yourself as you describe it. And now, imagine this issue, this problem, from a perspective of a week from now, a year from now, or even a decade from now. Will this issue still have an impact on you? Will you even remember it? Will you have learned from the experience? How have you experienced transformation? And now, keeping in mind the perspective of the mountaintop, witness your life from a God's eye or a divine, universal perspective. Try to see your fears and your frustrations from this point of view. Looking out beyond your clearing to encompass all of the other people who are out there. Now, see all of these other people, all of these other beings who are involved in having equal value and being worthy of love and respect, even when you disagree. Then ask what will serve the whole from this perspective. And return to your breath, noticing your body, noticing how any sensations in the body and the mind perhaps have changed, have opened, and feel this vastness, this spaciousness. And rest. in this open, inclusive space. Bringing back to mind your initial intention, and perhaps adding a resolve to bring this sense of being on the mountain with this broad, expansive view whenever we feel ourselves closing in on ourselves. And by self distancing, we can allow space for ourselves and for others. Now, I'd like to end our meditation time with a poem that's entitled An Open Mind. How do we get from here to there when here is so stifled and there is so free? It starts with an open mind. An open mind is willing to see that while the path may not be easy, it can be walked. An open mind is willing to adapt, change, and grow, even when it is pushed out of its comfort zone. An open mind is willing to entertain all possible solutions. An open mind is willing to be wrong at first in order to be right later. So much of the solution finding is done in communities. I think because each person's perspective can show them things of which another person is blind to. And because each of us have experiences which are unique and valuable, experiences that can make us well suited to coming up with solutions to problems that others see as unsolvable. What perspectives do you bring? How does your experience give you an advantage? One that you can leverage in order to solve a particular problem. It starts with an open mind. Thank you for your practice and for the little bit of a delay that we started. So I am going to stop recording